In less than 100 days from now, Nigerians will head to the polls to elect new leaders across the board. The nation's electoral umpire, INEC, says 56 political parties out of the 91 registered parties will participate in the 2019 general elections. Good afternoon and welcome to Standpoint. I am Veronica Danik-Boy. My panelists are in the studio and we will be discussing all things 2019, from party politics and internal democracy to chances of political parties emerging victorious at the polls. Oladapo Kasumu is the candidate of the Social Democratic Party contesting for the Mushin 2 constituency at the House of Representatives. Bolaji Shone is a political analyst and an APC ward chairman. Well, Ismail Abiola is a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. He says he's also a local government chairman. Party chairman. All right. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Good afternoon.
All right, INEC has released the names of candidates for the 2019 governorship election. Report from the Punch say there was no name published for the All Progressives for Imo governorship election due to court orders stopping the commission from doing so. INEC also did not publish the name of a candidate of the APC for the Zamfara governorship election, stating that the party did not submit names of its candidates. Is INEC doing its job or biting more than it can chew? I'll start with you, Ismail. Well, for the People's Democratic Party, there's been one issue or the other, but then for the PDP in Ogun State, it announced Shitu Bolanle, that's the candidate of Burichi Kasham, is said to be Shitu Bolanle, who was announced or recognized by INEC. And we know how the state has been embroiled in crisis. What's really happening for Ogun State?
Thank you. It's nice having you.
Yes,
again.
Thank you.
For me, what I think is that the situation in Ogun State is an internal issue within the party and one big family of PDP. And as a matter of fact, it's a win-win thing. Whoever that eventually standing for election is still PDP. But whatever the situation it is, I know the party at the national level is handling the situation very carefully to ensure that the party...
How carefully is it handling this? Because this has been going on for a while and we know how the back and forth has been with the courts.
Well, it's normal in politics for you to have, it's about conflict resolution, politics is about conflict resolution. And for me, I think that it is normal for you to have a situation whereby people agitate to want to be one thing or the other, to aspire for one position or the other. But the most important thing here is that the party within the leadership of the party at the national level will see to the end of the whole thing very, very soon. Whoever, for me, that's standing for election is a win-win thing, and it will be in favor of PDP.
All right. I move to you, Bolaji. It seems all the parties here have one issue or the other they are dealing with internally. And now for the APC, like we read out, INEC did not publish names of the governorship candidates at Imo and Zamfara State Houses of Assembly. And then in Ogun State is recognized Dakpo Abiodun, and we know how these states have been shrouded in controversy, the aftermath of the primaries there. But for you, how much impact is this going to make for a ruling party?
I must say that truly it's going to make some impact for the ruling party, but whatever impact it's going to make, I think the positive side will be far more than the negative side, because firstly, the ruling party, APC, is the only party that has shown to democratically elect its candidate properly through the right channel. If we remember, in the first time Nigeria will have what we consider as a free and fair election was way back in 1993, where we had the option A4, where people came out to vote directly for their candidates. This is the same structure the APC had deployed in electing its candidates. This system had been free, fair, but of course we will still have some people who would actually be aggrieved members, who would actually have some one or two complaints. But I'm very sure that APC, being the ruling party, the party with experienced politicians, have the right mechanism in place to actually resolve disputes, to ensure we have the aggrieved or whoever feels offended by whatever process or the final result is, they have a mechanism in place to ensure that disputes are properly resolved.
All right, we'll come to dispute resolution after we return from this break. The discussion continues. Do stay with us.
Yeah.
Well, you're still on to Standpoint, and we must clearly air that Senator Hope Uzodinma's name was actually
published for Imo State.
Yes, but then that has been the controversy. How are they using the internal mechanism? How well are they using the internal mechanism to resolve all of these issues? Because as about, I think some reports are saying that the governor Richard Okorocha is saying the APC is going to lose about 5,000 voters.
Actually, it's
5 million.
It's normal for an aggrieved part of the party to actually come to, bear or bring forward their own complaints and then find ways to actually pull strings. But the truth is this, the mechanism in place is to ensure we continue to have alignments and realignments. All right, for him to have even come forward to say this, of course, the party leadership will look into how they would best appeal to him and see how we can actually best harness whatever strength the governor is having to ensure we have victory at the elections at the polls.
Harnessing strength,
Yes,
best.
of course.
I'll come back to that, but then let's come now to Adapo. The SDP also has its own crisis. A fallout from the primaries between
presidential primaries.
the presidential primaries, and there's been a court. The issues have been taken to court.
Correct.
And Nigerians were looking at the SDP as perhaps this was the thought first that would have, changed the political atmosphere for Nigerians.
Yeah, I agree with you. As far as I know, I was even interested in that convention that happened in Abuja there. As far as I know, the convention was very peaceful and people voted for who they wanted as a presidential candidate. But like all human endeavor, there's bound to be conflicts and there are bound to be, conflict resolution mechanism like my colleague said. The party leaders are already, in discussions with the two parties there, and I'm sure it's going to be resolved. Yeah, they've gone to court, but I'm sure it's going to be resolved out of court, And like you said, we are actually the third force. We are the biggest amongst the top three right now in terms of structures across the country. And in terms of ideology, they were bringing to the table.
Really?
Yes, in terms of ideology. Most of the political parties in Nigeria, I call them SPVs, just special purpose vehicles to access power.
What makes you different from
them? So what we're bringing to the table is different. We're bringing ideology of, we believe in proper devolution of power, proper federalism. People just like the other big two. What they do there, they don't come with a straightforward plan. They go to the power and, they do it based on guesswork. But we have a plan on how to change this country. And if you see the caliber of people in our party, I must confess it's different from what we're seeing.
But these people that make up your party were some of the people in these parties that you just mentioned that were SPVs.
Correct. But you can see, even in the big two, we can virtually even differentiate with the party members there. They're moving back and forth. But here, you don't see such people here because they believe in the ideology that we're bringing to the table. That's why you don't see that kind of back and forth movement defecting today, going back to the old party today. You don't get to see that.
It's just a matter of time, don't you think?
As of now, we've been here for almost a year now, you don't get to see that because they believe in the ideology that we're bringing to the Nigerian people.
What is your party's ideology? Really?
Okay, yes. The ideology is this. Yes, the sing-song today is restructuring. Yeah, everybody wants to say, yeah, because that's what people want to hear. But we have the ideology on the table that we believe in proper devolution of power to the state, the constituent unit of Nigerians. Because there's no way that Nigeria can grow because the growth is stifled because of the kind of federal structure we're currently running in the country. There must be proper devolution of powers to the states. Now, most of the states are bereaved of ideas. There's mental laziness because they have to go at the end of the month to go and collect money from the federal government. They don't generate funds because they believe at the end of the month. No. There must be proper devolution, and that's what we're bringing to the table to the Nigerians, to tell Nigerians that's what we need to grow. The way we are, we can't grow with the way we are running our federal system. So that's a major focus of our ideology, and we believe in free healthcare, and so many other things.
All right, let's come back to you, Ismail. Well, aggrieved parties, what mechanism is the PDP? You talked about these issues being resolved over time. Because, you know, one other thing is the party had been in power for 16 years, and now it is trying to pull its weight to, you know, come back. And you're having all of these issues springing up here and there. How is this seeking to resolve these issues such that Nigerians can also put their trust in them for the next 4 years?
Thank you very much. Honestly, I must tell you that our party being in government or ruling party for the past 16 years before we lost election in 2015, I must tell you that it was not an easy task ruling for 16 years. And I must agree with you that honestly, our party has done so much to take this country to the next level. For me, the issue of internal democracy is very, very germane to the success of politics in this country.
True.
And to that effect, it starts from the management of ad hoc delegates at various levels of emergence of party candidates. And for me, you will recall that one of the major reasons why PDP lost election in 2015 was that ordinarily we were known to be a master of internal democracy. When we're trying to get our candidates, we go to the polls, delegates emerge at various levels, and at the end of the day, people vote for the candidate of their choice. But at the presidential election, as at that time, the reverse was the case. Honestly, that was responsible for the fact that we could not manage our success. And that was what led to why some governors left our party and went to other political parties, because they were not given the opportunity and the platform to also air their aspiration in the party. And that is why it is essential for every political party to ensure that you allow internal democracy to strive within the system and allow the will of the people to prevail. For me, if you look at our convention at Port Harcourt this time around, it's just like PDP has taken over government, because it was a fresh air in the whole country with the emergence of former president, Vice President Atiku Abubakar as a party candidate, because the people willingly voted for the candidate of their choice, willingly go to the polls and cast their vote. And eventually the best candidate emerged. At the end of the day, everybody was happy, and they have no choice than to accept the result of the congresses at the convention. So for me, I think the whole thing starts from internal democracy within the party, and that begins with congresses at various local government level, to the state and to the national level. And if that is done, I believe that the parties and the country will be a better place for all of us.
Bolaji, speaking from what Ismail just talked about, internal democracy.
Okay.
From what the fallouts we have seen, people trying to, you know, express themselves, make their opinions known, or enforce, you know, their decisions. Okay. Would you really, and the essence of saying let's have either direct primaries or all of that was meant to entrench internal democracy.
Yeah.
But we have seen the fallouts, the impact.
Yes.
Doesn't that say a lot about the party?
Okay. I must say that talking about internal democracy, I must also, one way or the other, you know, it's not as if I want to shake the table, but looking at the past government, one of the reasons which admittedly Ismail just said right now is because they couldn't manage the successes they have. And internal democracy was one of the reasons why they failed. And another one is the gross impunity in the area of corruption, stealing of our commonwealth, which got all Nigerians tired, all right, and then voted them out because they failed massively. They failed the state, they failed the nation, they failed the people. Then coming to this new government, which is APC, we took over from them by, of course, popular demand and the masses voting en masse to ensure this party gets into government. APC had come with a system that allowed transparent internal democracy and demonetized politics. Because running internal democracy through the system of delegates and others have actually shown over time that participation level from people who are not financially strong cannot actually go ahead. We can see the last primaries that was had by the PDP, Democratic Party, their presidential primaries, with so much allegations of over $8,000 given to each delegate to vote and pick a presidential candidate. Of course, Nigerians are seeing all of this. But with the APC, it's more like a free-for-all. Let every Nigerian, every meaningful member, so long you're a registered member of the party, come out to vote for your candidate. And it went as far as direct primaries, whereby even option A4 was adopted. Queue right behind your candidates. And I must say that these had even shown a path at which the next general election will go, because majority of the people have the opportunity to first-hand pick who represents them at the poll, who governs them. All right, so I must say that then wherever we have fallouts, of course, he mentioned, people decamping from one party to another and others. There is no way we can still take it away from all of them that have been used to the impunity they used to have before. All right, and then looking at it right now, the few governors you see complain, probably Rocha Sokorocha and the governor of Ogun State, are people who wants to impose and avoid the direct primary system, what will give the will of the people to the people. And the party, from the party chairman, stood his ground. That's the national party chairman, stood his ground that the direct primaries will be the system that would work, and the people chose their candidates.
Let's quickly take this call. Olaleko is calling from Ogun State. Welcome to the program.
From Osun State.
Osun State. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, you see, may God help us in this country. As far as I'm concerned, looking at all the political parties in this country, no one really have a clear-cut ideology. All of them are just, I don't know, they are just a bunch of the same feathers. But looking at what happened in the past, during PDP era, yes, there was corruption. Everybody agreed on that. But despite of corruption, our economy was the fastest growing in Africa then. But this government came, we all wanted the changes, but it came on power. Now we are the poorest in the world. We are the poorest in the world with them fighting corruption. So we don't really understand. I just pray that INEC will be neutral, will be highly independent, so that we can have a clear and free election come 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Olaleko. Yes, you wanted to say
I
something?
just wanted to respond. The PDP and the APC, as far as I'm concerned, are two sides of the same coin in terms of internal politics, internal democracy, and money politics. Yes, it's right, we saw pictures of dollars during the PDP convention, but of the APC, their funds was 22 million. There are stories of people being told to bring X amount of money before they get their names substituted or submitted to INEC. The president, allegedly. Currently, the chairman of the APC is allegedly on the run because he doesn't want to be changed, because he was grilled by the DSS. So for me, it's two sides of the same coin. They are all corruption ridden, as far as I'm concerned. And
SDP is...
You don't get to see anybody...
It's different.
It's different. Whatever internal democracy is there, when we're having conventions, there's nobody money changing hands, you vote for your conscience. That's what we're trying to bring, to demonetize politics in Nigeria.
So how is it raising funds for these elections? How is it, garnering funds for the forthcoming elections?
So gathering funds, we're not going to do what PDP usually do, gather people or the private sector guys to bring billions of naira. No, it's entirely sourced from friends and families. It's like what you have back in what Obama used to do. Party members donating. So we don't have any big wig or people that have, stolen our commonwealth to now say, okay, we're going to fund you. We don't have such in our party. And we don't even want such people in our party. So that's how we decide to run the party.
But like I said earlier, the same people that you spoke about, they keep moving and they're coming. So what are you guys going to say? No, we don't want you
as of today, we don't have them in our party.
As of today, you don't have them in your party. All right, now let's move forward, because the issue of internal democracy is also something that people are wondering. If we cannot find internal democracy within the party, if these parties come into power, so to speak, how democratic and transparent will they be in their daily dealings when they get into power? Ismail?
Well, for me, honestly, I must tell you that as far as our party is concerned, People's Democratic Party, we have entrenched a good standard and good foundation as far as internal democracy is concerned. And as a matter of fact, before now, you will agree with me that there is no other party that can equate themselves in terms of standard of internal democracy within the party, which is PDP. And to that effect, we also entrench service to the people as our core value. And that's why you see our people ensuring that they patronize the electorate and ensure that they make sure the development of the community whereby they are elected is their core focus. An example of that is the House of Assembly member, the only man standing, last man standing, that we have in Lagos State House of Assembly. In Lagos today, Honorable Dipo Olorunrinu, who is the only voice out of the 42 members in the House of Assembly today. For me, it's a pride, and if you go back to his constituency, you will see the evidence of performance, every nooks and cranny of the constituency that shows that, yes, he's actually on ground, and as a matter of fact, he has actually given value to the opportunity given to him to serve his people.
Really?
And to that effect, everybody wants this gentleman to come back and serve again. Because for me, politics is about service to humanity, and everybody who is one way or the other aspiring for one position or the other is to serve. Because we are public servants when you are put in that kind of position. So really, for me, internal democracy is key, and it's germane. He has went through it, and he actually emerged at the primary,
Okay.
like I said, and I know that as it is, I won't take it away that, yes, anybody, but for me, our party is a very clean and rebuilt party and refocused party as it is, and we are moving forward to re-establish Nigeria to the next level by the grace of
Okay,
God.
let's quickly take this call. Adekunle is on the line calling from Ogun State. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Yeah, Veronica, well done.
Thank
You
you.
did a Good job. Yeah, I want to quickly contribute to the SDP mandate. Okay?
Yes.
The SDP mandate is saying a very wrong thing by saying they are new. They are not new. Even people from other parties came and they joined together. Example is Benajuk. And in Osun State, Omishere really disgraced them by going after everybody has contributed, and people have killed a back of Omishere for Omishere to win the governorship, for Omishere to allow all the APC men to come to his house. Definitely, there's nothing clean about SDP. All of them are the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Adekunle, for your contribution. You want to react to that?
Yes, as far as Omishere is concerned, I guess you're aware that he was suspended, for his acts. So, like you said, yeah, there were always Judases in every gathering of 12 people. We're not saying we're saints, but
But that was what the picture you were trying to paint.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There will always be Judases. I'm not going to come here and say that you're not going to find people of such character in the party, of course, but there are mechanisms to weed out such people. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, Bolaji, internal democracy.
Yeah, talking
very
about
critical.
transparency and credibility
Yes.
in internal democracy. When you're talking about party primaries, this has to do with the people electing. It's a process that even determines how Nigeria will be governed overall.
Yes.
All right. And then when you have a group of friends and loyalists gathered together in an event center, and then all of them wearing the same colors of clothes and caps, pledging allegiance, that's what I see it to be. And that's the practice which I see other political parties do. But in the case of the APC, taking it to the streets, taking it to the people, let whoever wants to represent the people go to the streets, go to the people. Make your manifestos known, make your allegiance known, make whatever plans you have known to the people. If the people in the streets really want you, which is direct primaries, what we had in Lagos and several other states in Nigeria, then you're talking about real transparency. The people had even known you before the election date. In this case, there is no issues of godfatherism. There is no issue of a group of people loyal to the governor of the state. These are decisions of the real people who would end up making up the voting population, which we call the electorate, that would determine what happens in 2019. Then talking about a party that says it is new, a party that does not even have a councillorship seat, that does not have an House of Assembly seat, is that the same party we should entrust Nigeria into their hands? A party with no experience in terms of governance? Please, really.
When you say no experience in terms of governance, Donald Duke was once a governor.
Governor of PDP. All right.
Anyway, let's go on the short break. The discussion continues when we return. Do stay with us. You're still watching Standpoint. There are still grey areas concerning funding the 2019 polls. The Senate had in September approved the sum of $242 billion to be sourced from recurrent capital and service-wide votes of the 2018 budget through environment for the conduct of the election. But that money will now be cut from the budgets of some ministries, departments and agencies, including power, education and health. First off, should we be spending this much on elections, and how will these impact the performance of the affected ministries? Ismail, should we be spending so much on our elections?
Well, for me, honestly, such money are not meant to be spent on elections. And as a matter of fact, they are meant to be spent on infrastructures, development of the country, and the various constituencies of the federation. As a matter of fact, election as politicians are supposed to find way of raising funds within themselves to fund their elections. And such money should not be drawn from the federation account or budget meant for the development of the various states and the infrastructures and the services to the entire national grid and service and structures. So as it is, election money are not meant to be drawn from the budget of the country. And as a matter of fact, our party is prepared to fund the election independently through independent body. And as a matter of fact, we're not looking forward to funding our election with any budget of the
Where is it raising funds? How does it intend to raise its funds?
Of course, it's allowed in political circles that you raise funds independently among yourselves to prosecute your election and aspiration, as the case may be. So for me, there is nowhere where it is tenable that budget funds should be used for election prosecution.
Bolaji, what do you make of his statement?
I would say I disagree totally that elections should be funded by, that means INEC should be funded, because when we talk about election funding, the money we're talking about here is money that is meant to be made available to INEC for proper execution of the election process. All right, I see it as totally wrong to ask individual politicians that want to contest elections should be the ones to contribute to INEC. Of course, this means we are making this.
Is that what he means?
No, that's
not what he means.
That's not what I meant.
For their campaigns.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
He's talking about for their campaigns. Yes. All right. But we're spending so much on our elections.
That's what our elections. Yeah. All right. Firstly, we have to look at what has been spent previously in previous elections and what the figures are right now. All right. In comparison, I think we're spending lesser than what was spent the last time. Indeed, are we not? Okay.
We are not.
Okay, then looking at the system and situation we have in Nigeria right now, talking about the security challenges, because a lot of these monies will be going into security. We understood that this government actually inherited a whole lot of calamities in terms of insecurity. And of course, for election to go peacefully and properly conducted without any form of external influences, all right, then I think it's fair enough. And so long it's going through the Senate, the proper structure to approve of it, then I don't see anything wrong in it.
Look at the critical sectors that we are taking this monies from. Power.
Okay.
Education. And health. These are places where it is said that more funds should be, channeled into, and we are taking from them to fund elections. Really.
Okay, talking about taking money from the power sector, education, and health, all right, to fund elections. Elections is a thing that comes once out of every 4 years. So taking money, of course, not necessarily from all the money from these ministries. And I want to believe when we talk about taking money from these sections, we've seen a scenario whereby I think last year's budget that was allocated to power, after spending, there was still money left that the ministry did not use, which was returned back. All right. So of course, probably there had been excesses. Okay. And then from all of this, Education Ministry also returned money back. And then this is the first time it would ever be happening in the history of Nigeria. So when we look at these ministries as the ones who, after achieving so much, still returned back some money to say, okay, we did not finish spending all of this money. Of course, probably the system or structure could, let's say, let's look into these guys. They have actually returned money in the past, even after achieving so much. So if we ask them, or if we try to take some money off them, it wouldn't hurt the Nigerian economy in any way.
All right, before I come to you, we have Okorafo on the line calling from Abia State. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good afternoon, Mr. Veronica. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Mr. Veronica, I want to find out from our guest there, what is the man from SDP? What is the fate of Donald Duke? Because as of yesterday, before the yesterday, I was seeing where the Ghana was still quarreling with Donald Duke. And the issue of finance, don't you think the political analysts, most of these people that enter this to form political parties, they are just going there to collect this money and just settle themselves and disappear at the end of the election. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you. All right. Earlier you talked about the issue being resolved.
So as of today, Donald Duke is still a presidential candidate, right? So, like I said earlier, there are internal mechanisms at the party's level to resolve that, and they're also in court. So I believe they will resolve it outside of the courts. But as of today, Mr. Donald Duke is still a presidential candidate.
All right. Coming to you now, election spending 242 billion, because I saw you were reacting when Bolaji was speaking, you were making faces. So I'd like to get your stance on this matter. We're spending 242 billion naira for elections, and it's going to be sourced from, or money is being cut from budgets of some ministries like the power, education, and health.
Okay. The humongous amount of money being spent on election is unrealistic and unacceptable in this our economy. The last power generation is about 4,000, they hover between 4,000, 5,000 for almost 200 million people. APC is a continuation of PDP as far as I'm concerned. PDP too were revolving around that same amount of money. Nothing has changed. He said it was referring back to money being brought back to the treasury. Of what use is that if we can't generate power? Back to the 242 billion. How can you be spending 242 billion naira, almost $1 billion, to run an election in Nigeria? There are other ways that you can do this thing to optimize it, to reduce the cost.
How?
It's just corruption. It's blatant corruption. That's as far as I'm concerned.
What other ways?
No, how can you, part of the budgets I understand is to feed, they're going to feed them. I'm not saying the police people shouldn't be fed. There's for police, for dogs, some humongous amount of money. If you look at the line item of the budget, you can see and feel corruption there. That amount of money is unrealistic.
And I keep asking because you said there are other ways.
There
so what
ways,
other ways?
There's technologies
Perhaps
that can be
SDP
deployed.
Has a better...
There are technologies that can be deployed to reduce the level of logistics being involved in this. I'm not going to come out and tell you the specific technologies that could be
you have to. To an extent, you have to. Tell us, since you know there are other technologies.
Okay. In other climes, I know that the level of literacy in Nigeria illiteracy is quite high, right? The costs of the card reader, is it that the card reader used in 2015 because they say they need to buy are all damaged? All the equipments used, because every 4 years they say they're buying a new set of equipment, right? Okay. The ones used 4 years ago are non-existent anymore? That's the questions that are begging for answers.
Okay.
Because the question is, how do we continue every 4 years to start to say that we need to buy vehicles? Okay, all the vehicles bought in 2015 are all damaged? That's the questions. It's part of impunity that we're talking about that needs to change.
Can I respond?
All right.
Okay. For me, honestly, the amount being set aside for election prosecution in Nigeria is unreasonable and unnecessarily huge. And I think we have a technology in place, as it is today, that can make people to cast their vote within the comfort of their various sitting room. If you can send text messages through your MTN network, Airtel network, Globalcom network, and at the end of the day, you have a database whereby such messages can be collated. Can't Nigerians cast their vote from the comfort of their sitting room by putting just the name of the candidate of their choice, instead of voting so much that could have been used for other things in terms of infrastructure and every other things that required urgent attention in this country for that kind of a thing? So for me, I think, honestly, the money is too much and it's unreasonable.
Well, Bolaji, you are in agreement with this amount being spent. Perhaps tell us, is this going to make the elections more credible, free and fair?
Okay, I want to say that even in previous elections, we've had issues of people being disenfranchised. All right, when, of course, probably the budget is too low, it limits INEC from getting even to reach to the right people at the right time. One of the major challenges INEC used to have in getting ballot materials to reach out to people who are supposed to vote right on time is due to logistics. Inavailability or unavailability of our transportation system, inadequate, or rather when they have shortage of staffs or ad hoc officials, and all of this needs to be properly catered for to ensure every Nigerian's vote. I agree that with technology, all right, a lot of things could change, a lot of cost could be covered, and then some level of people would be reached. But looking at the literacy as against illiteracy level in Nigeria right now as we speak, you and I know that the voters, the main people who actually come to vote, are the less, you know, I don't want to use the word illiterates, of course, but the elites don't vote. They actually just come, probably even when it comes to election, they sit at the comfort of their home to rather watch live events as others goes to vote, or probably they'll be busy on WhatsApp and Twitters, and we all know there are no polling units on social media. And the best way INEC could reach out to these people is to actually look at what problems do they have from the last election that led to disenfranchising of a lot of people, and then all of this should be covered. Yes, so all of this probably, of course, are part of the reasons why the costs go up. Then when you talk about corruption, left, right, and center, you know, I want to believe that this government is the only government so far in the history of Nigeria that had fought corruption to a stalemate.
All right, let's quickly move on. The 2019 general election has been tagged the mother of all elections, as it will see a new crop of young Nigerians challenge the old order for political positions. The presidential election is taking up the spotlight. President Muhammadu Buhari achieved the feat in 2015 when he defeated incumbent Goodluck Jonathan of the PDP. This time, he's been challenged by an array of impressive personalities. What are the chances of any of the opposition candidates sacking President Buhari from Aso Rock? What is SDP's chance? Do you think you stand a chance to, you know, unseat the incumbent?
Of course we do. I'm not going to delude you and say that the task is going to be a tea party, because we are facing people that have accumulated humongous resources in the last 20 years, some 16, one, almost 4. So we're not going to say it's going to be a tea party, but it's task that's achievable. Nigerians are hungry for a thought force, a credible thought force. They are tired of... Has
the SDP given them that credibility?
Yes,
Has it proved to be as credible? How?
Of course. We are the credible thought force that we're bringing to the table, like I explained to you earlier.
Yeah. Some persons might just be joining the program, so they might want to hear it again.
Okay, like I explained to you earlier. Most of these parties are just SPVs, special purpose vehicles to snatch power and access the treasury to loot. We are coming to the table with an ideology on how to restructure Nigeria properly so that you make the federal government less attractive to the people.
Okay, you're still hinging it on restructuring. SDP is still hinging it on restructuring.
Yes, it's proper devolution of powers to the states. Proper devolution of power to the states. Because the federal government is top-heavy. The states are bereaved of ideas because they believe at the end of the month, like beggars, they go and collect money. Every Nigerian state has enough resources to be on its own. So that's what we're saying, that when we come to government, we're going to properly change the structure of this country and make the federal government in the next 4-8 years less attractive for people like me to say, I want to go for House of Rep. You know, that's what I'm saying.
Interesting. Well, Ismail, you talked about, taking Nigeria, to the promised land, if I may use the word. But then PDP was in power 16 years. And, Nigerians wanted a change. They voted for change. And now you're coming back again. Do you think Nigerians trust the PDP enough to give them their vote for the next, let's say, 4 years? Let's start with.
Thank you very much. Honestly, Nigerians trust PDP. In fact, regretted voting PDP out of government. Honestly, when you check the tempo of the people as it is in the country today, they are totally not happy about the economic situation, security situation of the country. And in fact, the issue of corruption has been said by my friend that their government are fighting corruption. I must tell you, I can on and on mention references about people who are serving in this government who have been involved in one corrupt act or the other that has not been prosecuted at all.
But then your candidates, the presidential candidates, there's been allegations of corruption. Don't you think that is going to...
No one of it has been able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that it's actually corrupt. And as a matter of fact, this is the best candidate Nigeria will have as at this time to take us to, because he's a man who has learned the rope, who understands. Atiku Abubakar has learned the rope, who understands the system. He has the knowledge of the economy. He's a man who has passion for education. And as a matter of fact, he's an inspiration to the youth of Nigerians, especially targeting the issue of employment and making sure that Nigerians are happy and well-structured. And at the same time...
I'll come back to you, because you have to break it down for us, especially for the economy, what he wants to do differently. We have a caller on the line. You're welcome to the program. Go ahead with a contribution, Simeon.
All right.
All right, go ahead, Simeon.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Please, I don't belong to any political party. I'm not a card-carrying member of any political party. I want to talk to the APC man who said that there is no godfatherism in APC.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What I want to say here is this. The issue of even, I'm not in Lagos, but I think even the issue of Ambode in Lagos, I am just looking at it as issue of godfatherism. Kano issue also, I'm also looking at it as issue of godfatherism. For me, I am looking at it that both APC and PDP are the best of the same feather. And I think what Nigerians want now is people that can bring change.
All right, thank you, Simeon. There was primaries in Lagos, I believe.
There was, and it's actually on the streets of Lagos. So talking about godfatherism, I'm surprised and shocked about where he's coming from. But the truth is this, he's entitled to his opinion.
Thank you. Let's go back to Ismail now. What does the PDP want to do differently with the economy? You said Atiku has the experience.
I talked about
all of
restructuring.
And restructuring.
Yeah.
So what makes it different from what the SDP is talking about?
Well, probably SDP is stealing from our ideology and our manifesto. Honestly, these are the templates and the critical agenda of our principal Atiku Abubakar: restructuring, education, and at the same time to make sure that the country is repositioned in terms of security and be a safer place for everybody to live. As it is today, this country is not safe for anybody. You and I know that. And as a matter of fact, we need to do something urgent. We need a new frontier to make sure that we bring Nigeria out of this quagmire.
And that is why I asked, perhaps you might want to break down one of these things that you have mentioned, how the PDP intends to drive it differently and, lift us from the woods.
Of course.
Either education, either you say providing jobs, employment. What is it doing differently? What does it intend to do differently?
Like I said, honestly, it is when you get there that you realize that we will definitely do it differently, like we did it during the time of Goodluck Jonathan. In education, he did it differently by ensuring that 507 new secondary schools were created during Jonathan's time. 165 Almajiri education centers were also created, and he created more than hundreds of universities, federal universities in most northern states and the southern states, Zamfara, Yobe, Gombe, and all other states. And as a matter of fact, these are achievements of our government that we did. You realize that what gave birth to the emergence of Boko Haram and all this and that is because some people felt that they don't want to go to secular education, they don't want to involve themselves in the normal school education, but give them the opportunity of going through their Makaranta or whatever they call it. Jonathan did that. 165 Almajiri classes were created and they were issuing certificates. And we felt that that is a way to tackle the issue of their agitation concerning security and taking Nigeria to the next level and making sure that everybody is well educated. All
right, Balaji, you can hear that the PDP is talking tough, and the SDP is also talking tough as well. And so the party, like we said, is bedeviled with crisis that some have said that if care is not taken, this could mar the fortunes of the party.
Okay, firstly, I would like to take it from the area of other young politicians and political parties, trying to contest to see if they could sack President Buhari from for 2019. But I must say, firstly, that I appreciate the energy in the young Nigerians, really, giving it a tough competition. And then, of course, it's part of the real fun of politics. And then these guys would learn the ropes, all right, as against the future. But we'll talk about the party APC and President Buhari's presidential ticket or even running government. This is a government that has come to stabilize Nigeria. Before now, Nigeria had been running on either false datas, all right, false informations by previous governments when it even comes to growth, when it comes to being the strongest in West Africa or rating as number 9 on Forbes or whatever. All right, I think I recall then when Dr. Okojo-Iweala, is she a professor, the former finance minister, she came on here to say that I want this government to save against the raining days, but they would never listen. It means this system, Nigeria, had actually been operating on a keg of gunpowder, and then we continue to play with lighters. Not until this government came and said, Nigerians, this is our current situation, this is what we are, and this is what we are worth. And then you see the economy nosedive deeply, yes, but the only way one could pick up an economy is to ensure the real state of the economy is there, placed on the table, and then you pick it from the scratch. And as we speak right now, Nigeria is already out of recession. At least we've been able to cover up on whatever trash or mess we've been in the past, and then we're looking at stabilizing and building on it against the future. Of course, coming after 2019, I see, young, vibrant Nigerians, people with some energy to actually take it up. But right now, as we speak, we need experienced hand, which President Buhari, with a combo of Professor Yemi Osinbajo, taking care of the economy side. Everybody wants to, take advantage of the restructuring campaign and everything. Talking about restructuring, I want to give it to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, all right, the Jagaban and leader, national leader of APC. This is the main person who actually first put up the debate on restructuring. If everybody right now is coming to pick on it because they see it as the bait to get the commoners on the street to vote for them, when you want to talk about something, the main people who have the roadmap, the blueprints, are the main guys you should look at. All right, now
so you think they don't have the blueprints?
They are just copycats, believe it or not. Let's put it this way. Before APC or this government came into power, how much do FIRS remit in terms of revenues generation? And look at what it had remitted recently. Just in the last 1 year, I think it's over 4-point-something trillion. It had never happened in the history of Nigeria. When you want to talk about restructuring, you have to talk about stability first. If you did not stabilize or build a proper foundation, whatever you want to do on it is going to collapse later. And that is what APC government is for, and that is what Nigerians will get in 2019, a properly laid foundation for the kind of Nigerians we are looking out for.
Well, you wanted to react to something.
Yeah, I just want to react to 2 things he said regarding Dr. Okonjo-Iweala's admonishing Nigerians to save. Most of the people that were against that thought from the lady are currently the ones running the APC right now. I don't want to mention names.
Really?
Yes, most of the governors there, and they even took the federal government to court.
Yeah.
2, it says, yeah, Ashiwaju was the arrowhead of restructuring, quite all right. Now that they now have access to the till at the federal level, they suddenly got quiet. Why?
Have they gone quiet?
No, never. Never. And that's where they're getting it wrong. For you to want to say you want to work on restructuring, you have to stabilize the economy first. All right? You have to actually put a lot of things in place, which is what the party is currently doing through the current government. By the time all of this is put in place, then we can now start to look at restructuring, what resources states could use, whatever you have, whatever you can develop on, and then, of course, a good part of it comes back to your state, just a little goes to the center. I agree totally that the center should actually be made less attractive going forward, all right? And I want to believe this party, this government is doing all it can to ensure, even as we speak, that the center is less attractive. Before now, when we have the previous governments in place, what we used to see during electioneering period is money flying all around. Right now, I must say, it's not happening. Indeed, it is not, except if we don't want to tell ourselves the truth. There's a whole lot of noise out there about the economy. It just means previously this country had been running on stolen money, had been running on corrupt funds.
Bolaji Shoneye, thank you for your contribution.
Yes,
Oladapo Kasum, thank you for coming. Ismail Abiola, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, because that's the much we can take on the program today. And that's our package on today's edition of Standpoint. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can watch a repeat of this edition tomorrow by 7 a.m. I'm Veronica Danik Boy. Enjoy your weekend.